morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone around the world. I'm Paul Sisler, and this is In the Moment. Before we start our show today, I was in a space earlier, and it got me to thinking because I met this gentleman named Near, and he was talking about a lot of things, and it got me to thinking. At the end of my shows, I always say, "Be kind, be happy, and may good things come your way." And I mean that with most sincere, just, I want you to really think about that. It doesn't take a lot to be mean or cruel or whatever and all that. And there's a lot of anger and hatred and stuff like that in the world today. And all I'm asking people to do is, be kind. Go out there and say hello to somebody, give them a compliment or whatever, or, just a smile. It's amazing how you catch the eye of somebody and you just smile and nod and, saying hello to your neighbors, stuff like that. And um, be happy, you know. Um, it's easy to get down and depressed and stuff like that. And I really want people to try to create their own happiness for themselves. Again, you can take whatever there is that's out there and you can make your surroundings happier. And when I say may good things come your way, I'm not talking money or fortune. I'm talking about the reciprocation from other people and being kind and to bring happiness, to share their happiness with you. And I found that today in a space where Nir was talking about some things, and the anniversary of the death of his mother is coming up in January, as is the anniversary of my wife's death coming up in January. And it just got me thinking, there's just not enough kindness out there. And I just wish more people would, just say hello, smile, and stuff like that, and try to bring a smile to someone else's face. And with that said, I'd like to welcome Luke L.R. Evans, who always brings a smile to my face. Hello, Luke. How are you?
Hello. Hi. My hair's everywhere. It's a mess. It's a mess, but it's my mess.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And how are you today?
I am doing okay. It's still like a little stressful. I had a great Christmas though.
Good.
Yeah. So I'm excited to be here though. I feel like this will be fun. Howdy,
Yes.
Paul, says Zaldor. Howdy,
Yep.
Evan, says Zaldor. Hi, Zaldor.
Yes. Hello, Zaldar. How you doing, brother? How you doing? All right. All right. Today, characters, do's and don'ts.
Yes. And
Yeah.
today will probably be a little short because like I didn't have like a whole lot of content. Again, still trying to like get my shit together after the move. But it's okay.
Well, there's a
um
lot that goes into moving, I tell you, and all that. It takes a while to get organized. And I was fortunate. My stepson is with me, and he's the younger of us, the younger of the two, the stronger back of the two. Without him, half the stuff that got done probably still wouldn't be done. I would probably still have boxes sitting here waiting to unpack them. But anyways, I hope it's going a lot better for you.
yeah, still unpacking. Slowly but surely. Uh but I hopefully I'll be able to get back into writing the sequel to Lucid after the first of the year. That's the plan. So today, though, we are talking about character creation, do's and don'ts. We're going to talk about like a couple of things that you might want to avoid when writing your novel, and a couple of things that you definitely want to lean into that's going to make your characters really pop and come to life. Special shout out to J.H. Colts, the author of the Magnavite series that's right behind our lovely host, Paul James Sisler today. They actually helped me about like 30 minutes before this video to come up with some notes. So I really appreciate them. Thank you, Jay. Okay, so we'll just like get right into it. We're going to start off with some really easy ones that like lots of us already know about, but for anybody who's new to writing, this will help save you some headaches. The number one thing is avoiding cliches like the jock, the cheerleader, that kind of thing. Um, uh, Anything that's already been done a million times that you think up off the top of your head, you probably want to avoid those. You want your characters to have more depth. Um, Avoid like relying on ticks as well, like flipping their hair when they're annoyed or something. I got this advice way back when I first started writing. I was obsessed with the Holly Lyle website that was all about writing advice. And I actually printed out her entire website when I was 15 and had it in a binder. I used the printer paper at my school's library. So I bet they loved me for that. But that was one of her advice. She was like, yeah, if you have her rely on like a tick like that, like that's her whole character, is she gets annoyed and she just flips her hair, she's gonna be bald by the end of the novel. Like it's going to get annoying super freaking fast. So you want to avoid things like that and actually give your characters real attributes, real qualities that make them real. It's okay if she flips her hair once or twice, whatever. Maybe that's just the thing she does, but don't make that everything that she is. Like there should be other ways that we know that she's annoyed. Hey Jay, you missed your shout out by the way. I totally let everyone know that you helped me with my notes before the show. So and we plugged your book.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's just some like really easy ones there. This is one that Jay actually helped me with. They said never make two characters too similar. Uh, like like their example was having two characters that are basically the same, but haha, this one wears glasses, so they're different. So I definitely feel like variety is the spice of life when it comes to writing an interesting story. Like I like dramatic characters. I like the flamboyant characters. I like the sarcastic characters. But I also like the more serious characters and the bubbly characters and the gullible characters. And, like putting all those different people into your book is going to make it look more like real life. And it also creates a lot of interesting conversations that maybe you didn't even imagine in your own head that you don't realize until after you've put these characters together on the page. Uh, I've done this with a couple characters before. Like, I can't remember exactly who they are. I can't come up with a example right off the top of my head, but it's like if you create this character with all of these attributes and you know this character so well, and then you also create this other character who has many different qualities that are like the opposite of this character, and you know them really well, you might not think about it but until they cross each other's paths on the page, and then you're like, oh my god, this conversation is so fucked up, and it can change the course of the plot as well. I've had that happen to me before because these characters are so real and so vivid and so detailed that I didn't foresee that it would cause a problem, and then it did, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, so they're not going to help you. I forgot. Like you came to them for help. That was the way the plot was supposed to go, but I forgot that they probably hate you. So this conversation just turned into an argument, and now you're not getting help from this person. So now I have to find another way to get you to reach your goal. It's really fun. It's something I really enjoy. But I'm gonna stop here for a second. I have lots of other points, but I'm trying to stretch this out a little bit, give people enough time to like say things back. If you want to say something, Paul.
Oh, not a problem. Not a problem. At the beginning, you're like, don't make him a cheerleader, don't make him a nerd, or don't make him this, or don't make him that, or whatever examples you used. You remember the show Heroes?
No, I never watched.
Okay. You got to watch it because, like, the main character is a cheerleader. Okay. And she gets this where she can't get hurt. She falls, she dies, she breaks all of her bones in her body, and she just heals. Okay. So a lot of the characters were basically the cliche people, but they had superhero abilities. So how does, I mean, because you got doctors, you got lawyers, you got the jock, you got the cheerleader. I mean, everything could become cliche to an extent. So is it not actually making them a cheerleader, which would be cliche? I mean, making them the cheerleader would be cliche, but now if you're throwing something in there that makes them stand out, even though they're a cheerleader, does that change what you're saying? Because as another example, I just watched the second season of Warrior Nun. So it a nun would be kind of cliche with religious type shows, and yet this show is interesting because the warrior nuns aren't just the ruler on the hand, blah blah blah. They're not your typical nuns. So when you're saying cliche, are you saying don't make them the stereotypical cliche of what you expect them to be, or to not have them? Kind of define that.
There are no original ideas left in the world. I'm a firm believer of that. The only way that you can make an idea interesting is to combine a bunch of fucking cliches together until you get something new and unique. I believe that. That's what I believe. So if you have, and something that Jay was telling me before the live, they said that cliches can be interesting when used like for comedy or satire or something like that as well. So like that's a way that you can, get a little laugh is combining some of those that are supposed to be so annoying. And same thing with the tick thing, like just constantly fucking throwing your hair behind your ear. It gets annoying, but it's supposed to be annoying because that's comedy, that's satire, that's something that you're doing on purpose. But I think that anytime that you put a spin on something that is an old idea that's been overused, a cliche, that's what makes it interesting. It makes it new again. So that's my thoughts on that.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you. Because I mean, I'll sit there and I'll be wanting to watch something different, and I go through and it's like, okay, no, I've seen that. No, no, never watched it, but I've already seen it. Never watched it, but I've already seen it. And there's been a lot of, I get into a lot of like detective shows, criminal shows, and I've got probably about on my Netflix continue watching probably about 300 or 400 shows on there that I get 15, 20, 30 minutes into it. And it's just like, I've seen it. I mean, I don't need to go any further because I already know where it's going because everything's the same, And when you're like talking about ticks, like every time she gets nervous, she does this, or every time he gets angry and all that, he does this, or these same things. And it's just like all these expressions are the same. There's nothing that's hidden or unique or anything like that. It's just typically how most people act. So I guess what I'm saying is I agree with you not to do that. And yet, don't you have to use these things and find something to change it a little bit to give it that uniqueness, to make it different, to make it stand out?
I think the pitfall comes with the fact that with the plots of these movies or books, I think it's a genre specific thing. You have to have certain elements in order for it to fit this genre. So that's why a lot of times it'll look like the. Why is my phone blowing up? Oh, no, that's a client. I'll get back to you. I hope she answers. Okay. It's oh, babe. I can't. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Take it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just mute and take it.
Okay.
I'll entertain. No, because when I'm doing a lot of my writing and the things that Luke was just talking about, I think about this as I'm writing. It's just like I don't want, like with Rainbow Prophecy, I don't want it to be just another story that is like all the other vampire stories that are out there. And even though I'm bringing druids into it, it's yeah, it's a little bit different, but yet it's still kind of a cliche in that aspect that instead of vampires and werewolves, yeah, now it's vampires and druids. But you have to have a uniqueness that separates it from all the things that you've already seen out there. I don't want my Rainbow Prophecy / Book One Blood Schism to be the next Twilight. I don't want it to be like the things that are already out there. I want it to be different. I want it to be something that has its own uniqueness to it. So when you're writing, um, if you're trying to make something that is you think it's different, but yet if you can compare it to something else and it resembles that other show, that other movie, that other series, or something like that, you need to take a step back and look at what it is that you're writing, because you want something that's different. So no, Luke, I agree. You can't go with the same cliche, same little things that are, like the flippity of the hair. It's got to be like maybe when she gets stressed out and all that, she sneezes or something. You got to make it something different, something unique. It could be funny, it could be hilarious. I mean, but it's got to be different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely got to be different. The problem is that when it comes to genres, like horror is always going to be there's like killers. There's going to be a killer that's like on the loose or something like that. Like that's a pretty standard plot point in the horror genre. So it's kind of hard to avoid the running and the falling and the big scary guy like creeping up on you all the time. Like that's why it feels like we watch this same show over and over again. But if you add something new to it, add a twist, that's what makes good writing. That's what breathes new life into the genre. And it's just what makes yours different. That's what makes people continue watching or continue reading. So
It's kind of like the Freddy Krueger scenario and all that. You had all these other slasher movies that would, they're slashing everybody up. And what made Freddy Krueger different is that he came into your dreams and did it. So,
yes.
yeah.
What's the twist? I need the twist.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing was like avoiding caricatures of people, which I feel like really falls into the jock, the nerd, that kind of thing. But also it's making them more real. Like we don't want someone that's just, this is the comedic relief. So all they do is make fucking jokes. You know what I mean? Like you don't want a character to just be a jester. You can have this character provide most of the comedic relief in a story, but that can't be all there is to them. They need to be their own person as well. Otherwise it just doesn't work. They need to play a bigger part in the story than just making jokes all the time. And I really think that emulating life, taking the real life scenarios that you've gone through in life or you've witnessed your family members or friends going through in life and inserting those into the plot and into the characters is what's going to breathe new life into them as well and make them seem more realistic, because it's kind of like you already did a test run. Like you've lived this, that it's real. That this is something that's happened. You've experienced it. You have that in your tool belt. So why not take that and cast it onto your character, project it onto your characters, and that makes them more relatable to readers, because I sincerely doubt that you're the only person that's gone through anything. Like it's going to resonate with somebody.
Exactly. And to go along with that, Jeremy Baker and I, we just did a show last Saturday, a tribute to George Carlin. And what you're talking about right now kind of plays into this and all. When you look at a lot of the great comedians like, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Joan Rivers, Lucille Ball, any of these older comedians and all that have either passed or some that are still with us. What made them so great is that they took real life and turned it into comedy. And when you do that with your character, you take real life and you turn it into comedy, or you turn it into something more serious, or something that draws from that, yeah, you're gonna bring people in because of the association. They can feel it. Why do you think those comedians bring in these crowds and everybody's laughing? Because they know what they're talking about, and they can resonate with it. Now they can laugh back at it.
Yes. Laugh about your trauma until it goes away.
Yeah.
Firm believer. Anything sad could be made into a joke. Oh, Jay actually helped me with this one. They said to avoid writing fan fiction. So, uh, like the 50 Shades of Grey, that was basically, it started off as a fan fiction and the writing's not all that great. Twilight started off as a fan fiction too, I think. No, 50 Shades of Grey was a fan fiction for Twilight. That's what it was. There's been lots of different ones like that. I think that it can be done as long as you make it unrecognizable to the source material. A lot of times when people write fan fiction, they lack the tools necessary to develop characters, because the characters are already pre-made for you. The world is already pre-made for you. That's what makes writing. I'm not saying fan fiction is easy. I'm just saying that a lot of the work is still done for you already. The most of the writing, the developing part of writing is done for you. Writing fan fiction can be difficult and challenging if for a lot of different writers, if it's done right and the work is put into it for the plot, because that's what's missing in the fan fiction. Whenever you're starting to write, you have the world, you have the characters, but you have to come up with the plot, and it has to be a believable plot, and you have to learn to stay true to the characters that you didn't create, but they're already there. So when you're writing a novel and you're thinking of another source material like a TV show or a movie or another series of books, and you start writing that novel and just loosely basing it on that, it runs the risk of you not really developing your world, of you not really developing your characters. But at the same, so it kind of falls flat. It looks like a paper cutout of the original, if that makes sense.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Okay. So, and then right after that, we said stay true to character. If a character is built up around certain qualities, it should take a full character arc to change those qualities in that character. So something Jay was telling me before was that, like, if like they're strictly against romance, like, they have I actually read a book like this actually once. It was Meg Cabot's Every Boy's Got One. Loved that book. I actually need to reread it. It was fun. But basically the main character would believe that romance was dead. Love was, just a chemical reaction in the brain or whatever, and it's a passing, fleeting thing. You can't count on it because his wife left him. So that's how he felt about romance, and it took the entire book for him to finally fall in love with the main character, the whose point of view we were reading from for most of the book. But it took the entire book for that to happen. Like, he had to have a whole character arc. But if you, and that's because that was one of his main tenets of his character. That was part of his character development from the beginning. That was his base model thing. That's what made him a character. So to change something like that, it needs to go through an entire process. We need things to actually happen that changes this character's mind, changes their core tenets, and evolves them. So it's not going to work if, like, this character who doesn't believe in romance pops onto the screen, and we know they just believe in romance for like the first 5 chapters or whatever, and then this new character pops up like, yeah, but accept me, right? And then, like, the character that hates romance is like, you know what, just for you, I believe in romance again. Yay, I'm cured. Like, you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that if you've built up these really serious qualities for a character, that you are holding true to that, and they're changing for real reasons.
Now, do you think you can actually do like a fan fiction that could be good enough to actually draw people in?
Me
Yeah,
personally,
yeah.
I don't know. I did pretty good on Necessary Evils. I did Doctor Who fan fiction. It's not my best work, but people still liked it a lot when I had it up. It's on my
Okay.
website.
Yeah, because I mean, my comparison would be like Harry Potter to Star Wars.
Mm. Oh, you like to do the crossover universes. That's neat.
Because I think Harry Potter is basically fan fiction of Star Wars.
Ah, that would be funny.
It's like the same storyline. So I mean, um, hold on, are we getting some event situations that challenge the POV narrator's beliefs and push them into that newer, more evolved perspective to earn the romance or other thematic arc moment? Okay, I thought I pissed off some Harry Potter people at first.
No, no, that's exactly what I meant, though, T-Paul. Yes, there needs to be some catalyst for the development before the development takes place, or else you it doesn't have the payoff. Like you've built up this whole character, and then it's like, actually, though, because of plot, we're just going to change that now with no real work, and it makes your character just fucking fall flat. It's dumb. Um, Jay also brought up something self inserts, and I believe that Jay and I have different opinions on self inserts. Um, I won't speak on their behalf, but I shatter myself into a million pieces and then I sprinkle myself over all of my characters like pixie dust. So all of my characters are self inserts. Each and every one of them have a little tiny bit of me in there because that's how I make my characters realistic. I take little bits of myself and I project them onto my characters, and then my character feels more real. And
Yeah.
that's my trick.
And I think every writer actually does that, whether they want to admit it or not.
Probably.
Because,
I've heard. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
well, I think that our inner demons and our inner angels drive a lot of the personality of the characters. Whether it's the character created in our image, and the adversary created in the image of who we want to take on, or if we feel like we are the one that is being tormented or whatever the case may be. I think we insert that strength, that compassion, that things that we don't like about us, or things that we um, want to change in ourselves. I think we put that into our characters. I think everybody does that to some degree.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, empathy is one of those great unifiers as well. So, putting a compassion, like having your characters display compassion, empathy, kindness, that kind of thing in your stories, emotion is what will make them look or appear more realistic as well. I mean, don't rely only on that, but that's kind of a cheat sheet thing right there. I agree. I just think that where it goes wrong with the self inserts is when you've made it too obvious. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yes.
yeah, and it typically becomes more obvious when it's a Mary Sue character. Like this character can do no wrong. They have lots of bad takes. Onision actually wrote a few books that people hate read on the internet. If you want to go check out that on YouTube, it's so fun. I rewatch them sometimes. It's so fun. Where it's obvious that it is a self insert of Onision, and they are they do horrible things in the book, and it's like, yay, this character is so strong, they're such a badass, and meanwhile the reader's like, you have no self-awareness. That's horrid. But why are you a good character? You know what I mean? It's when you make it too obvious like that, that's when self-inserts become kind of cringy, and it's like, oh god, no. Okay, I don't want to read this. You're basically like, it's self-masturbatory at this point.
Kind
I'm
of
done.
like the whole Tom Cruise Mission Impossible ego trip aspect.
Yeah, I don't quite get it, but probably because you mentioned Tom Cruise, so
Yeah, yeah. Watch Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise. If you don't, my personal feeling is that he is inserting his ego into it to make it, more of, who he thinks he is, So yeah, so when it comes to writing, if you put that kind of ego into it, yeah, it becomes obvious, in my opinion, that yeah, if you put too much of yourself in there, especially your ego, where you're saying the perfect character, the can do no wrong, justifies everything, whether it's right or wrong, blah blah blah. Yeah, yeah, no, I can see where you're going. Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically the only thing that you really want to look at when it comes for self inserts. Because when people say they don't like self inserts, that's what they're talking about. That's talking about when you're going overboard, just like T Paul just said. You got to be careful on it.
yes,
Um, and not do too much. You got to find that balance to
mm-hmm.
where it makes it realistic without going overboard. Another thing is giving your characters believable motivations. I did struggle with this a little bit when I first started writing. I even struggled with it in the first draft of Lucid. But luckily for me, I had beta readers that were like, why is this character doing this? Like, this doesn't make sense. Like, that's a little insane. I'm like, yeah, I did it because plot, and I see that you see, so I will change it. So you want to make sure that if they're doing something, they have a real reason to do it. Like I had Julian caring about like the war that was happening in Rumworld before like there was even a reason for him to care. Like he just got here. He's just trying to survive. Why the fuck does he care about fucking war? You know what I mean? Like he doesn't give a shit about the war that's happening in this world right now because he just got here. There's fucking rock monsters. He can't remember his waking life. He wants to fucking wake up. That's his motivation is wake up, not solve the fucking world's problems that he's just entered into. So you want to make sure that your characters do have believable motivations and that they're doing things because it's true to their character that you've created and not because you're trying to advance the plot inorganically.
Right, right. I just watched The Witcher Bloodlines, the new series, and I kind of feel that's what happened when they did that. Because there's some characters in there, it just doesn't make sense why they're fighting with this group of people. It doesn't make sense. Why are they just suddenly joining up? It's not in there. So no, I know what you're talking about. I just discovered that last night.
I need to watch that. I keep getting ads for it, which turns me off of it. It's like, oh, look, another fucking ad for Blood Origins or whatever the fuck this is called.
Blood
I'm
Origin.
not going to watch it.
Yeah, it was okay. I enjoyed it. It's worth the watch, especially if you're a writer. I mean, it's definitely worth a watch. Because again, you're gonna see some of these things that we're talking about right here as far as character development goes. You know,
Might check it out
so yeah,
after I watch some J dramas because I need some sappy cliche goodiness in my life. Like it's a guilty pleasure. I'm watching Absolute Boyfriend tonight. That's what I'm watching. It's going to be fucking great. Uh, it's so sappy, so gross, but I'm watching it. Another thing that is great for building characters, if you guys are struggling with creating characters, is character interviews. So ask your characters questions like, what do you like best about yourself? When's the last time you cried? Have you ever had your heart broken? See, it's these open-ended questions that begin with who, what, when, where, who, what, when, where, why, and how that are going to get you a lot more information than yes or no questions like, have you ever cried? Oh, I guess have you ever had your heart broken is kind of the same thing. But like it gets those juices flowing there, and it's way more helpful than doing a character profile like they had green eyes and brown hair and they were 5'7" and they wear this color clothing all the time and they always wear army boots. And like that doesn't tell you anything about the character. That tells you about their style, but
correct.
why? Right. So,
Why the army boots?
right, right. Dig deeper. Find out the things that really fucking matter. Like if you were talking to someone about, like, pretend that they're in a therapy session with you and you're trying to get to the bottom of their shit. It's really great. Just write up a list of fucking questions to ask all your characters and then just go through, and that'll help you become so much more attuned to your character as well. It's also fun to daydream about them after you've done this exercise. I do this. So I'll like ask all these questions and shit like that, and I'll put them in scenarios in my head, like shit happening and stuff after I've asked myself a question. And there will be whole ass fucking scenes that happen in their fucking life, their backstory, to the point that I know them so well that they're like a real fucking person. And when I'm getting ready to sit down and write, I don't have to remember anything. They're as real to me as my sister, or my friends, or whoever. Like, I know them. They're a real person that exists in my life at that point. And I encourage everybody to know their characters that well. It doesn't really take as much effort as you think it does.
Yes. I have a scene where Iris and Donovan are in this coffee shop. It's the instant coffee scene. And
Daigle loves you.
anyways, I didn't know whose perspective to write it from, so I wrote it from both. And I'm doing one of those things that I hate when I see it in movies, but because they overplay it, and there's only going to be like this one time that I think I'm going to do this, and it's going to be for the purpose of character development. So the coffee scene, you get to read it twice. You get to read it from Iris's perspective. You get to read it from Donovan's perspective. Excuse me. And then I also am thinking about, because I wrote it for the hell of it and I'm still working on it, writing it from the waitress's perspective. So it's like this one scene in this restaurant is going to be read, is going to be done potentially 3 times to illustrate a personality trait.
I used to do that when I first started writing, back when I was like, well, I wouldn't say first started writing, but when I was writing my very first book ever, the series, I did it in like everybody's point of view. I would just backtrack and be like, all right, this is Kinsira's point of view. This is, oh God, what were their names? Raisin's point of view and Kaichen's point of view. God, that takes me back. Holy shit. Could you tell I was into anime? Anyway, I used to do that. I would do like one chapter and I would have that chapter done in all 3 people's points of view. And it's a fun exercise to learn more about your characters, but I wouldn't suggest doing that like in your finished work. But maybe yours works. And I'm just traumatized from the first book that I ever wrote. This Teapot says, figuring out stuff about our fictional peoples that has nothing to do with the plot and whatever other story material is being done always helps with getting to know them. Yes.
Absolutely. Then he throws in there, you're doing some Twin Peaks shit there, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the Sandman.
Yes. And I won't say that it never works. I won't say that. I think that you're clever enough to figure out a way to pull it off to where it doesn't come off as redundant to the reader. But I did not know how to do that when I was 15, and that shit was annoying.
Yeah, well, and because mine's done in first person, you have what the person sees and then their own inner dialogue going on, and then the words that are spoken back and forth, and then back to the inner dialogue. So then when it goes to Donovan, you got a whole different inner dialogue going on.
That's what I was doing when I was 15 too.
And then when you have the waitress who doesn't know Iris or Donovan, you got to, who in the fuck do these people think they are coming in here and blah, blah, so it's just like, wow. I think I can make it work. I'm trying to make it work. If I can't make it work, I'll probably go with Donovan's point of view because I like it the best. But we'll see. I might run I might run it by you and all that here within the next few weeks and all that to see what you think. But
Okay, yeah, I'm game. You can catch me. Jesus, I've been so busy lately. Okay, and then we have modeling characters after the plot. So like the example that I gave Jay when I came up with this was trying to save an old historic building. Like, let's say that's the plot. Like, we're trying to save this old crumbling historic building that the city wants to tear down. And then the person who owns it is also old and they're dying because they have like a terminal illness or something like that. So that's like the owner and the building, the owner and the plot are the same thing. They're mirroring each other. So that's another way to create a character is look at your plot and decide, do I want to mirror the plot with my main character? And if you do, then just find a way to create a character based off of the plot there. That's a really fun thing to do.
yeah.
And then the very last thing I have is character names that foreshadow their personalities. And Jay actually came up with that. So like, you know, a character name that's like a dead giveaway of who this character is going to be. Like maybe you have a character named Mittens, and you already know that character is going to be devious. They're going to be kittenish. You know, they're going to be something. Or you have a character named, I don't know, Bruce. Bruce just reminds me
This
of
is an asshole.
yes, big macho man. I don't know. So that's an interesting thing too. So that's all I've got so far.
So are you saying not to do that, or are you
I'm,
saying it's a
I'm saying it can be fun. I mean, probably it's the same concept as self inserts. A pinch is fine, but don't dump the whole fucking bottle of salt on the food, please. Like, you don't want every character to be like, okay, well, I know what your name is, so I know everything there is to know about you. And you also have to be careful to avoid cliches with that as well, because if you're naming characters after their personalities, you also have to make sure that that's not their entire personality, because then it just gets boring. You know what I mean?
wow. See, all of my characters' names are Easter eggs to some degree.
Jay's too.
Okay. So whether I create their names or I use names or whatever the case may be, there's meaning behind them for some reason or another. Some of the things some people will never get because, you know, like TJ, Tommy Jensen, um, I wrote a short story back in high school, 35, 40, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Like 38 years ago. And, anyways, that's the name of the character I used then. And it has meaning to me. And I turned it into TJ, where back then it was just little Tommy Jensen, you know. So now it's TJ. So it has meaning to me. Most people aren't going to know that. But like Iris, there's an Easter egg there. Donovan, there's an Easter egg there. With all of my characters, there's an Easter egg just waiting to be found, you know. So there's a little meaning to every name.
I agree. Yeah, Jay does something like that too. I don't think I really choose names like that. I mean, sometimes, but it's not something that I actively do. I just mainly go like, "Oh, that looks pretty. I choose that one."
See, like let's take like if I want my character to be say saucy, okay, I'm gonna look up words that are synonyms to saucy. And then with those that list of words, I'm going to look for names in those words or create a name out of those words. And then when you try to figure out what the name means, it's going to come back to saucy. And that character is going to be saucy. So, you know,
Love it. Love it.
yeah. Oh, what did T Paul write again? On the nose names are fun until there is no fun dynamics. Sometimes it's also fun to name a character like Harmony, who is anything but harmonious, just pure malice and chaos. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, I like it when the names
But
are
that's the
completely.
Easter egg. Think about it. You got a character named Harmony, and you're expecting that. There's the Easter egg. All but harmonious. Love it.
Yes. All right. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. So, I guess your homework for this evening is to do some character interviews. Go talk to your characters. Go, like, find out like a bunch of questions to ask them and just run through them all and get to know your characters a little bit more. That's your homework. It's due on Monday.
All right. Great show. Tomorrow, I'm going to start doing this on all my shows, announcing my next show. So tomorrow we have Shadow Fox with the Flow, and Shadow Fox's special guest is going to be Diana Bishop.
Oh, nice. I can't wait.
Yes, yes. So everyone tune in tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific,
Oh, yeah.
2 p.m. Eastern,
Oh, okay.
for Shadow Fox on the Flow with the special guest Diana Bishop, and she's also an author of the Gospel of the Witch. Um, and then on Friday we have the Vellum with T-Paw at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Join us, join us, join us. And I still don't know what T-Paw is going to discuss on Friday. So once he gives me that information, we will get a tweet out. So, anyways, there we go. That is our show for today. I just gave you some information about our show tomorrow and our show on Friday. And then, of course, on Saturday, we have the Ode to Carlin with Jeremy Baker at 1 p.m. So there we go. There's our shows for the week. And who knows who might pop up and who might be a guest and who might be here. You just never know. Anyways, thank you. Remember, be kind, be happy, and may good things come your way. Thank you, everybody.
Meow.
Meow.